Let's have it. The question now is that vote Attorney General stand part of the schedule. Is the member being tricky?
No, just a no.
Order. I'll put the question. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote Parliamentary Council stand part of the schedule. Those of that opinion will say aye. Contrary, no. The ayes have it. The question now is that vote treaty negotiations stand part of the schedule. Rahui Katini.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. E te rangatū paumua o te reo te whare, tēnā koe. E aku kōkō tātaki, tēnā koutou katoa. We come to this vote in the context of a damning statement from the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Indigenous rights, namely that the treaty's principles appear to be vulnerable to political discretion, resulting in their perpetual insecurity and instability. Now, of course, we understand that the appropriations for vote treaty negotiations is not the sole and exclusive authority of the treaty principles, but it's as good a place as any to start. And I have to say, we join the Select Committee in being generally very impressed with the momentum driven by the Minister towards the aspirational goal of achieving just and durable settlements. It is very heartening that practically the moment the coalition agreement was signed and ministerial warrant signed, the Minister had taken off at a cracking pace. Over the last 18 months, this government can now boast having reached 39 significant negotiation milestones, including 7 deeds of settlement. Now that is something to be proud of. There are also some achievements which distinguish this vote, and that includes recognising the progress since the Te Kōkiri Ngātai Hui held last year, the Minister's commitment to addressing issues relating to the asset value of the land bank, the investment in the rangatira ki te rangatira approach preferred by iwi. This third concept, the promotion of chief-to-chief negotiation, is something that we, the Māori Party, campaigned on and brought into the coalition, so it's great to see that coming into fruition. So with such positive progress being advanced, how is it that the Special Rapporteur could be so harsh in his comments about political discretion? And that comes down to one word, tūhoi. While the pace of settlement negotiations is commendable, the manifestation of treaty principles is primarily observed in practice. And so when the government failed to honour commitments that tūhoi felt had been promised, specifically in the return of ownership of Te Urewera National Park to Tūhoi, there were many questions asked about how genuine the commitment was to its dealing with iwi, and specifically Tūhoi. For anyone who has questions around the Tūhoi claim, they need to look no further than the research of historian Dame Judith Binney, who has traced the history of the Crown's treatment of Tūhoi back to 1871, and a promise made by Donald Maclean, the Native Minister, for Tūhoi to enjoy a large degree of self-government, of tribal authority over the area. 25 years later, in 1896, the Liberal government of Richard Seddon passed a law granting a form of self-government to Tūhoi, a measure that Binney described as absolutely unique. The action was in direct relation to the Crown's confiscation of large amounts of land in the Tūhoi Nation during the wars in 1866 and 1867, confiscation that was neither justified nor compensated for. Over the decades, however, the initiative of Seddon was gradually whittled away, and 50 years later, the Urewera National Park was formed out of the land that Tūhoi owned in 1896. It is this history of the Urewera which Dame Binney has suggested the Prime Minister should have understood before talk of precedence entered the frame. The precedent we in the Māori Party are interested in is how it can be possible that the government can willingly offer up Dock Estate for the purposes of mining and yet deny Tūhoi claim to the Urewera. Finally, I want to leave the last word to a young boy from Kavanagh College who featured in that fine publication, the Otago Daily Times, this morning. Sam Murphy, a Year 13 student, wrote to the paper about his concerns that, in many cases, the treaty has been ignored and dishonoured. He described some of the issues we have seen outlined in the estimates, such as land claims and the foreshore and seabed dispute, but he finished with a resounding challenge for this Minister, this Government and this Parliament. Most of all, we need to understand and honour the Treaty of Waitangi, our nation's founding document, a fruit of the goodwill and hope of those who signed it. Let us learn from the wisdom of our youth and put in place the policy commitment to ensure that the treaty is indeed a foundation for goodwill, an opportunity to promote the rights and identity of our Indigenous people, and a blueprint for unity.